murder. Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on Mental Health Matters with Marty, we're continuing our series on What About Dad? Today, Dad and Depression. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Hey, y'all. Now, what's going on? It's your boy, it's your host, Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and in living color in Southern California. I would say where the sun is always shining, but guess what? We got a little rainfall, so we can't sing that song, It Never Rains in Southern California. We got some today, and boy, did we need it. Hope you are doing well. Let me know you're listening and where you are listening from. Listen, it's getting closer to Christmas around here. I even got my coat out, y'all. You know, we don't even do that a lot out here in SoCal, but it's so good to see you. Hope you're having a great week. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty. We are continuing our series on What About Dad. So grateful that you're here. What about dad? Dads are often forgotten about in this thing and this walk in life. And we don't want to forget about dad in our daily, what we're doing here on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, because we want to help you move you from just everyday life to greatness. But before we do that, what is this program all about? The Mental Health Matters with Marty show is all about being a psychoeducational unit to support you in your mental health journey in this walk called life. We are not, let me repeat, we are not a substitute for you seeing your therapist or your life coach. Go see them, y'all, especially during this holiday time, because we got some cray-cray family out there that we need to talk to our therapist about, so we keep our sanity and make sure we don't lose ourselves in the emotional challenges that come during the holiday times. And if you are experiencing any type of psychological or medical emergency, please go to your nearest urgent care or call 911 if you have any help, need any assistance with that. So you know how we do. We are here to help you and support you in all that you do. Now, how do I engage in the show? I'm so glad that you asked that question. Listen, we're not trying to ignore anyone, but how do we engage and how do you engage? By directly engaging on our Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook page or on YouTube on Marcel Media Group. Marcel Media Group on YouTube and Mental Health Matters with Marty page on Facebook. So let me share this announcement with you sooner than later. Sometime in April, maybe even March. Wait a minute, I got choked here. we are going to be going to 100% exclusively on YouTube. So listen, please subscribe to that Marcel Media Group channel already, because we're going to be looking at that. Because why are we doing that? Because we're trying to monetize what we do. We're trying to reach a broader audience. We need YouTube to recognize the work that we are doing. And YouTube can be reached on so many different platforms, such as your television, for those of you who have smart TVs and that. So we were going to be making these announcements, but I want to be the first to tell you, the first quarter of 2022, we're going to be moving exclusively to YouTube. Now, we're going to still make the announcements on Facebook. We're still going to make the announcements on Instagram. We're still going to make the announcement on Twitter, Tweaker, or whatever you need. We'll send you smoke signals or whatever it might be, but we're still going to be doing, letting you know we're having the show, but we will be doing exclusive YouTube sometime in the first quarter of 2022. So definitely look around March. We should be making that change, but we'll keep you in the loop. We don't want to lose any of you, but we want to reach a broader audience and start monetizing what we do. Because if you're like, I believe we have an amazing show, we have amazing guests, and we need to make sure that you are getting amazing information and that we're getting some sponsorship, because that's what we're looking at. Because where the money flows, that's where we can make some more things happen. Also, I'm excited to announce that Mental Health Matters with Marty and Marcel Consulting and Mental Health Services, in the month of February, that second week in February, we're going to be hosting a whole week of Black men and mental health. So please stay tuned for all of those exciting things that's going to be happening in 2022. We are so excited about it. But now that we're here, listen, let me know you're here. Let me know you're listening. Let me know you're watching. Let me know you're alive. What's happening, good people? Hope you're doing all right. We have been doing this series since right before Thanksgiving about what about dad? Why have we been doing this series? Because oftentimes we never take the time to talk to dads, to talk to us about what we're going through. What are we feeling? Dads are just not robots. We got feelings too. You know, can a dad get a massage? Can a dad get a gift card? Can a dad get a cup of coffee? Can we get another gift besides a tie that we ain't gonna never wear? I'm just saying. Ain't trying to be funny, but I'm trying to be funny. Listen, what about dads? Dads go through a lot of emotional stress and anxiety and depression. Today, we're going to focus on dads and depression. Have you thought about dad who loves his children but can't get around to seeing them because Christmas is not on their visitation day, for those dads who are not in the home, or even dads who may not, who we are told that we're supposed to be the major providers. And during this pandemic, many people have lost their jobs, or they may not be making the money that they have in the past. And maybe Christmas won't look like it has in the past this year. What about dad and his depression? What about dad and his needs? That's what we're talking about today. So get those dads on the phone, get those uncles, get those brothers. We want to hear from the brothers tonight as well. Sisters, we always appreciate your feedback. But listen, we want you to do a call out, do the hooty hoo call, hooty hoo out to the dads and to the moms. Listen, we're talking about what about dad and what that looks like. I am, yes. What about grandmas? So do we. I understand, Auntie. We understand. We got your grandma, but we talk about dads today. You've been a great grandma. Yes, we're going to talk about those grandmas too, and grandparents who had to step in and take the role of parenting when you want to be grandparents and not just parents. And there's some depression that comes along with that as well. And because it's a change in life. So thank you, Auntie, for reminding me of that. And I'm going to have you on the show when we do that segment. I love my family because they're supportive of me. So tell them, Auntie, who your favorite nephew is. The kid right here. Much love. Gotcha. Love you. But listen, I'm so glad to have this brother on the show. This is his first time on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, but it definitely won't be his last. He has his own foundation, and I'm so glad to have him. Listen, we got him up past his bedtime tonight because he on the East Coast. I don't know why I always have all these amazing friends and all these guests who come on the East Coast, and I'm so grateful that these brothers will stay up with me and have a conversation. So let's bring to the stage for the very first time, but not the last time, to the Mental Health Matters with Marty, none other than Mark A. Harrison. Mark, what's
Hey,
going
what's
on, my
going on?
brother? How you
What's
feeling?
going on? I wish
Man,
I
you
was in
know, I'm
sunny California right about now.
come on, listen, get your ticket and come on out. We'll show you a good time. We coast to the beaches and all that, and just have a good time. Hang out at La La Land and get some food, have a couple drinks. Man, we just do it up.
Yeah, you speaking my language.
Yes, yes, man. How you doing? You listen. You in Upper Marlboro, PG County. Shout out to PG. You up there with the affluent mucky mucks out there, man. What's going on with you?
Well, it's Prince George's County. It's just so you know, we got to come correct. No one says
Oh, okay.
PG anymore. It's Prince
Oh,
George's,
oh, my
gorgeous
apologies.
Prince George's to be
Oh,
exact.
okay. Gorgeous Prince George County. Come on, correct
Yes.
the brother. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, I had an amazing time when I was out there. One of my boys used to live out there in gorgeous Prince George County, and
Uh-huh.
had a great time out there. It's good to see affluent black folk doing the thing, because oftentimes our perception about those of us black men in DC, we always want to talk about Southeast DC and have that narrative of that's how we live and that's how we are, but that is not the case. So Mark, share with us who you are, what you do, and let's talk about your foundation a little bit.
Um, I'm gonna kick it off like this. Who
Yes.
I am? Like Marty said, my name is Mark Harrison, but most people don't know I am a recovering addict, drug addict,
Mm,
and
okay.
my drug of choice was prescription opioids, and I
Okay.
dealt with that a lot during pre-COVID into COVID, but I was able to kind of maneuver my way out of it and see the light. During that time, I had a very good friend who was going through a very deep, dark depression. But nobody at the time was really
Hmm.
talking about mental illness. Oh,
Right.
he's crazy, or he got issues. You know how we categorize people when we really don't know what's truly going on. But
Right.
I'm up 3, 4 o'clock at night having these
Hmm.
deep, dark conversations with him, and he's crying.
Right.
It got so
Right.
bad one evening I had to do a wellness check at his job because I didn't
Okay.
know what was going on. And he
Right.
actually worked in the DC school system as a principal. Well, here I
Okay.
am calling my friend in the police department, say, "Hey, I need you to check to make sure he's
Right.
in school because I am
Right.
concerned." And some of his teachers kind of saw what was going on, but I'll kind of fast forward a little bit.
Hmm.
One day, it was a Tuesday, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
talking. I'm trying to get him
Hmm.
off that edge again. Question was, well,
Right.
why are you doing this? And my response
Hmm.
was, because I love you.
That's
And as
right.
men,
That's
we
right.
don't say that. But,
Come
this
on,
is my
Mark.
boy. And,
Yeah.
and I knew he was in that place. But realistically, I did love him. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I said that, I didn't know that was going to put him into meltdown mode because apparently this was
Mm.
something he has never heard. Growing
Never
up in
heard.
a household where
Yes.
parents didn't say it, there was no. I mean, we know the story.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna get to work, and I'm gonna call you.
Right.
11:42 Tuesday, I got a phone call saying that he killed himself in his
Wow.
6-month-old daughter's room.
Wow.
I can remember the
Wow.
time vividly and me
Wow.
being in my office and I broke down. And at the time, my
Sure.
supervisor was a
Sure.
licensed therapist, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and she kind of knew
Mm-hmm.
what was going on and kind of coached me through. She sent me home, a couple days later, and I'm trying to deal with this, and I'm saying, do I really want to go to this funeral? I don't know if I can actually do this. Mom and girlfriend asked me to go to the funeral, and I spoke.
Right.
I would say
Right.
probably 85% of the dudes in the room started crying. And I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
what's going on with my fellas? What did I say? Is there something that's going on that really makes them go into this deep, dark breakdown? Unbeknownst to me, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the men were dealing with a lot of the same issues. And, here I am
Yes.
kind of pacifying that, like, all right, it's a man thing. Here we go, the macho man mentality that we all
Yeah.
have until I'm in the gym and I'm working out with one of my boys. He's on the radio. He is on
Right.
Sirius FM radio show. And he said to
Right.
me, I remember running on the treadmill, yo, I tried to kill myself 3 times and I stopped. And I'm looking at him
Wow.
like, if somebody would see him on paper, see him visually walking down the street, what is the perception? he has it all together.
Thank you, Mark.
Actually, he doesn't. But you know how it is. You know how we tend to put on that
Yeah,
mask. So
exactly. Thank you. We've been
that
dealing
that
with that so
that
much.
yes, and I messed my workout up, and I was done, and I kept dealing with it, and I'm like, these brothers are saying something. So I was at an event, and I was having a conversation with this young lady, and the first thing
Hmm.
she said to me is, she said, "Mark, I've known you for years, but I've never seen you so passionate about this topic on mental health." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean?
I
I'm
love
passionate
it.
all the time. I may be a little bit extra, but I'm passionate all the time." And she said, "No, no, no, no." She said, "No,
Yeah,
brother." She said, "God is talking to you right
that's
now." She
right.
said, "I've never see," and it scared me, but it also challenged me. So
I love it.
COVID happened, and I sat down and I said, "What do I really want to do with this?"
Hmm.
You know, and I
Hmm.
kept saying, "God, what do you
Hmm.
want me to do?" So
Hmm.
many of these men
Hmm.
are hiding behind that mask, and
Yes.
how can
Thank you,
we
Brother Ladon.
basically
Hmm.
save ourselves? So I was going back and forth with titles, and I came up with "Saving Our Kings." You know, because we are
Wow.
a descent of kings. So it was really about
Yes.
saving our
Mark,
kings.
let me
So
interrupt you real quick.
go ahead,
You
sir.
just real quick, y'all. We're having little challenges with the comment. We see the comments coming in on our phones and everything, but we're trying to get them up and seeing what's going on with Facebook. That's why we're doing a lot of switching over to YouTube with as well, because the comments from Facebook it's driving us crazy because there's some great engagement, but we can't post it, and we want you to be engaged. So y'all, we're not ignoring you. Stay tuned. This is good stuff that Mark is bringing to us. This is excellent stuff he's bringing, and we need to hear this. Thank you. Continue, Mark. So saving our
And you can ask the
kings. I
questions
love
as
that.
they come in. So I came up
Yeah.
with
Okay.
a in the middle of the night, saving our kings, because as
Yes.
black men, we are kings, regardless of what anybody
Yes.
else is saving us. So it was about how can we destigmatize the ability
Yeah.
of seeking that mental help, and how can we get the
Yes.
kings the appropriate, I say, resources, tools, as well as the
Yes.
treatment, so we can actually be better for our children.
Yes.
However, doing
Yes.
this, I would say 6 months into it, I said, damn, it's not about the men. It's really about our kids, because the trauma starts as
Yes.
a childhood. So I had to
Yes.
refocus. So Kings not only became about the black men, but it also became about the black boys, where the trauma starts in a house. So that's where the
Love it.
concept actually came from.
Man, I love that because you're right. Too often when we're hurting, it's hard to see past our own hurts. And so I'm glad that this came to you in a way that says we're not just going to capture black men, but we're going to capture the young men and these boys into men so that we can
Right.
stop the stereotype. We can stop secretly suffering in silence and shame. Because too often we as men, I love what you said, we put on that heavy burden of that mask and
Yep.
try. How you feeling, brother? I'm cool. No, we're not cool. We're struggling. We're depressed. And depression in black men looks different than it does times in black women, in our white counterparts, or what have it. Because a lot of times depression looks, if we can go in that, what does depression look like? Depression looks like me isolating. Depression looks
Mm-hmm.
me becoming very angry. Um,
Mm-hmm. Also, an
me
addictive
being,
personality, the
there
drinking
we
and the
go.
drugs as well. Right.
Yes, yes.
And
Our
I'm glad you
radical
brought that
changes in
up.
our behaviors. Yes.
And I'm glad you brought that up. The whole time, and I tell this story, and that's why when
Hmm.
I said a recovering drug addict, and I have to explain
Hmm.
why I'm saying that. Um,
Okay.
the whole time I'm talking about mental health, and
Hmm.
more people were concerned about the celebrities or the athletes that I had involved. And I used to say they're people. And I said, if you
Hmm.
really was watching it, we never talked about what they did as a profession. We really talked about
Hmm.
the issues that they were dealing with. But the whole time when I was doing all these discussions on mental health within our community, I too was struggling, and nobody knew
Sure.
it.
No one knew.
Nobody knew it.
Wow.
Right before I would have a conversation, I would go into a severe anxiety attack, because I didn't know
Mm.
if I myself could handle something that somebody was going to say. And then when the show
Yeah.
was over, I would go right to the pills and to the alcohol to bring
Wow.
myself. No, nobody
Down.
knew it, but then it got so bad that one of my friends, not one of my boys, because in my
Right.
boys' mind, I was still that strong man. But one of my
Mm.
female friends saw me breaking down slowly and surely.
Yeah.
Because when I can remember being in the room with my boys and say, yo, I am not good. A lot of them didn't
Mm-hmm.
know what to say. It didn't make me mad or angry. I had to realize they didn't know what to say for two reasons. They were so used to me being strong, or the
Mm-hmm.
perception of me being
Yes.
strong.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the
That's
other
good. That's
component is
good.
they were dealing with their own issues as well. And they did not know
Wow.
how to speak and communicate of the issues in which they had.
Wow. But that's so true. And I think you said it right. Because one, we as men are not taught to communicate feelings anyway. We're not
Right.
taught. We're taught. Put your game face on. Don't let them
Yep.
see you sweat. Don't be a
Right.
punk. All of that. So
Right.
so when do we get to, even in our own circle of men, trusted men, trusted our boys, our homies, that we can say, listen, dog, I'm not okay. But we have not even created that freedom or that safe space to say, I need your help, Mark. I'm not okay. I'm suffering. I'm
Yep.
I'm 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 retreating to taking pills followed by alcohol just to numb my anxiety, to numb my depression, to numb my, without realizing that alcohol is a depressant. So even when we're
Mm-hmm.
depressed, it's going to make us even more depressed. Those
It
pills are going
did.
to make us more depressed. Yeah. So
Those alcohol and pills only made me more depressed, but it made me suicidal.
mm,
Where I
wow.
actually took a gun to use on myself, and what stopped it was the phone ringing, and the phone scared me, and that's
My
how it
God.
actually stopped me. Yes, yeah,
Wow.
and I tell that people
Wow.
all the time. Don't look at what I do as a profession. Don't look at the degrees and titles. That means nothing. I am still that human being who had
Right.
issues, but not realizing
Right.
my issues were from childhood that I brought into
Yes.
manhood and didn't know how to deal with. Now that I
Yes.
understand what it is, I am much more able to kind of compartmentalize of what's going on and how I can understand what my triggers are, but more importantly, how
Hmm.
I can focus on those triggers and kind of get myself out. And for me, it was one therapy. I told
Yeah.
people I am 50 years old, and yeah, I have a degree and all this and everything, but it took me
Hmm.
50 years old, COVID, for me to realize
Hmm.
that I needed to see a therapist. So when people are talking about COVID was bad, to me, COVID was probably the best thing that happened to me because if it didn't
Wow.
happen, I probably one would have never been able to talk about this. Two, I know I would have never gone to therapy.
Wow. And I love that perspective, Mark, and too often, can I say this? Mental health illnesses does not care about your wealth. It does not
Right,
care about your degrees. It does
right,
not care about your gender. It does not
right,
care about your sex and sexuality. It does not
right.
care about it. Is, I would say this, it is an equal opportunist.
Yep, it is. It
It
is.
really is. It's
It
a
is.
leveling field. It doesn't care. It doesn't. You don't get to give it your bio or anything. It just says, I'm going to attack you, and I'm going to leech onto you and let you have the coping skills. So for you, I love it. You said COVID
Hmm.
almost, it made you come to grips with yourself and
Right. You know
say, I
why?
mark at what?
It made me sit my ass down.
Come on, right?
Before COVID, I was running those streets, and I'm not going. Yeah, well, yeah, I was running the streets. It is what it
Uh
is.
huh. Uh huh. Yeah,
What
exactly.
party, what happy
Truth is
hour,
truth.
who can I hang out with? Not realizing
Oh,
that
that's
was a
good.
way of not coping or dealing with what was really going on. It was
Escaping
another
the
form
the
of
the,
mass.
the
It was. It was. And I had been doing it for years. To a lot of my friends, I am the go-to, the party person. And it really, that
right.
was just a cover up because I didn't want to have to
Yeah.
deal with me and with issues that I was dealing with.
Right.
COVID came and it was like, sit down. We are going to tackle this day by day, and you're going to get through it. And I did. So for me, COVID came, I ran with it, and it made me a better person.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that you now have the insight, and I want to say this, the psychological fortitude to
Mm,
recognize the benefit of COVID, because too often we complain so much. Had COVID not happened, just like had that phone call not happened, who knows if you would still be here with us today. So
right. And
I'm
I think
grateful
if
for the
COVID didn't
phone
happen,
call.
I would
And
have burned out. I think I would
wow.
have burned. Because I felt it in me. It was,
Yes.
like that. It was like I had 10 pounds on the leg, on each leg, on my back, everywhere else, and I was
Yeah.
just carrying it all the time. But even going through it, I had to find out within, I would say, my circle, who was good
Right.
for me and who wasn't good for me.
Oh, that's good,
And
Mark.
that's when I
Because
learned
go
when
ahead.
I could
That's when
share
you
my
learn.
story. Because
Yes.
going through this, you have to realize who you can trust, and you can't trust everybody with
Wow.
everything.
Wow.
But doing this now, it is what it is, because now it's about my story is helping somebody else. But I had to cut people off to
Hmm.
get my mental together. And then I realized I couldn't heal if I didn't reveal and if I didn't feel. So that's what I did.
Come on, you got it. You couldn't heal if you couldn't feel and refuse to reveal. I like.
Right.
Listen, you better get that on a T-shirt because I'm gonna steal it, my brother. I'll give you 15% copyright on it. Listen,
Hmm.
y'all. You need to listen, everyone on here. You need to hashtag somebody. You need to put someone in the comments because you need to hear this amazing story that my brother Mark A. Harrison is sharing with us tonight. And your story, I believe, Mark, is so true to so many black men and men of color that we suffer in silence. And here's the thing: because you are the go-to guy, too often, we don't think the go to guy needs help. We don't think that the go to guy is ever suffering. We don't even think that the go to guy is putting on a fake mask, and behind
Right.
him is a lot of depression. Behind
Right.
him is a lot of shame. Behind him
Right.
is a lot of anxiety that is
Right.
undealt with from, and I love what you said, from childhood, some unresolved trauma, unresolved issues that you've had that we just kind of continue to put the rug over and just pretend it didn't happen, while all the while it is manifesting and festering in
Yep.
our soul and emotions.
It
Wow.
is.
Mark,
You
go ahead.
always when I'm talking to men, I
Hmm.
always
Hmm.
give them the famous Fresh Prince episode with Will Smith with his father.
Oh
You
my,
would be
don't you love
surprised how
that?
many men relate to that. And I can remember the first time I saw it, I was on the campus of Morgan State University, in
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
dorm room. Me and a couple
Right,
of my
right,
boys. That episode
right.
came on. I would say all 100% of us were
Yeah.
crying. And it was the crying where the snot and you had to bring the tissue
Yes.
out. And I'm like, wow, we are
Right.
all dealing with the same issues, but we are walking through
Yes.
campus like this big man on campus, not knowing that we are hurting deeply inside. So even when I am talking to single mothers who are
Hmm.
raising young boys, and I'm
Hmm.
asking them, well, what about the father?
Yes. What about
Giving
that?
me, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And I'm like, but is he trying to do that?
Come on.
Don't
Good.
take that dad away from that child, especially if he's trying, because
But Mark,
it
can I
took
say this?
two. You
I think
can.
a lot of times we confuse visitation rights and child support. That they feel now. I know that's a whole nother show. It's a whole nother show. I know I'm not.
It
All I'm
is.
saying,
That's why I laughed.
it's a whole nother show. It's a yeah. Come on, it sound like listen. I already been down that road. But mine is grown now.
Woo!
Thank you, Jesus. But it's different. Just because that father, right, wrong, or indifferent, did not pay child support does not give you the right to deny the child and the father that relationship. And
Yep.
we think we're going to use them. We use the children as pawns too many times on this chess game of life, and as opposed to letting that pawn be with the king. Whether he can
Yep.
be a king of a small kingdom, but he's still a king nonetheless.
Well,
And
I
allowing
actually
that.
that was my life.
Wow,
That was my
wow,
life, and I didn't meet my father until I was 32 years old. So
wow,
imagine carrying
Mark.
all that with me.
Yes.
Imagine carrying
So,
all that with me.
so were you like most of? Because I find this very interesting. Those of us with degrees,
Hmm.
um, oftentimes we will use our education and degree as a maladaptive coping skill instead of dealing with the root of the issue. Does that make sense? Do you
It
find? Because
does, but I don't think that was me. Um,
okay, that's good.
I don't, because even though I didn't meet my real father until I was 32, there was still a man in the house. Even
Hmm,
though
hmm.
I knew that wasn't the man in which
Okay,
I came from, there was
okay,
still a man in the house. But there's still that
love it.
sense of belonging. You want to know
Yes.
where you came from, the ins,
Hmm,
the outs, and I missed that, and it was hard.
hmm,
It
hmm,
took a lot of forgiveness. That Will Smith episode
hmm.
actually helped me to forgive. But here I
Wow.
am at 50 years old. I still talk about it in therapy because I still have some unresolved issues with the
Hmm,
situation. I know how to cope,
hmm,
and I
okay,
have my
okay.
control back, but there are
Hmm,
still some unresolved issues that
okay.
I have. Yeah, but
Hmm,
I look at stuff like that. Like you like when you were asking me about men in the holidays,
hmm,
how
hmm.
dads are perceived in the holidays.
Right.
I think it's a tough situation. It's tough
Mhm.
365 days a year. But if you're a
Yes.
father and you have been that provider, and all of a sudden you
Yes.
find yourself in a situation where you can't provide,
Yes.
and there's a lot going on
Yes.
around you, and you can't talk to your significant other, you have nobody to talk to. The holidays are bad, and
Hmm.
you and I know that holidays can be a very
Yes.
terrible, terrible time, and then you pile all this other stuff on it. It can actually take you over the edge. So what I always tell my friends, you will never hear me say, Marty, if someone says to me, Mark, how are you? I will never say good. I will never say
Okay.
good. The reason
Okay.
being, good to me is a mask. I will say I am
Gotcha.
great. And I am great because I'm alive, this, and this, and this. I will never
Come
use that
on.
word good.
You,
So when a
so
brother
you
says to me
followed
that
up
they're
with some.
good,
Uh huh.
so when a brother says to me, yo, I'm good, I'll be like, are you really good? Because good is an easy word
See,
to
I
say.
love what you do because first you follow up the great with why you're great. But
Right.
then if a brother says I'm good or I'm all right, you know how we do. I'm all right. You then
Yeah.
challenge that.
Yep.
Are you sure you're good? I love that because
Hmm.
you're taking the next step. So you're going, okay, I heard the answer you gave me, but let me just double check. I don't want the surface answer. I want to know. I
That's the
really want
surface
to know.
answer.
Yeah, because I got much love for you, my brother. I got that. So,
Right.
and I think for shout out to Ladon who's on here because he checked up with me the other just this week. So I'm like, bro, how you feeling? What you doing? How you living? He goes, I didn't want anything, just checking up on you. And what if we as black men did that more often just to check up on your brother and say, man, bro, love you, man. Hope you're doing well. Love you. In fact, he calls it King. He says, hey, King, how you feeling, King? Didn't want
Hmm.
anything, just checking up on you. What if we
Right.
did more of that to one another? How would that change and challenge our psychological and our mental illness and combat depression? What if someone had checked up
It
on you
would.
like that, Mark? Hmm.
It, I think it would have changed my whole attitude of life and of myself.
Mm,
Um,
right.
because too often we give, like you said, those surface answers, and the surface answer is just a way to
Right.
just pacify somebody. I'm like,
Hmm,
I'm
hmm,
not for that right about now. Let's really have
hmm.
that conversation. What I found out when you come back and be like, yo, they're like, yo, you really care. Wow, I never got that from anybody
Right.
before, and I'm like, yeah, come on, bro,
Right.
let's just, you know, have a real quick conversation, because as black men, we are dealing with a lot. And I think I had told you, when I was
Mm-hmm.
working on this degree, being the only black male working on a counseling degree, how I
Right.
gave my professors and dean the blues. I said, because what you're teaching me is
I
very
feel you.
superficial. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're teaching me this book stuff. This is not my world. This is not my reality. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're looking at changing the
Mm-hmm.
curriculum because I stuck to it.
Beautiful.
Don't
Yeah.
don't put me in a group with the other two black people. We know what we're dealing with. You know.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
but like I mean, you know how it is, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
about that check-in. Daily check-ins aren't hard. I think as black men, as black
Wow,
people in
that's
general, we
good.
need to do it. We need to do as much
I
as we
like
can
that.
go on social media and post something that sometimes is not even true. Sending a text to one of your friends, yo, how
Come
you
on.
feeling today? I'm just checking on you.
Yes. Yes. I love that, man. I love it because we need to do more of that to check in on the mental wellness of each other. And we have to also learn how to be honest. I'm not doing well today because, or I'm struggling today because, or I'm having, and we can't be afraid. And I love that we cannot be afraid of suicidal thoughts and how to talk to one another when we have those thoughts. And too often, I'm of the belief that black men are underreported when it comes to that
Oh, we
because
are, we are,
our suicide comes in other forms, and it
right,
can be a long-term suicide as we're
right.
drinking and drugs, or drinking and prescription drugs and those type of things, doing crazy um, uh, activities such as driving too fast, or when we're under the influence or something like that, or negative sexual connotations, or just putting ourselves at risk where it does not directly look like suicide, but the end result still is, whether it's an instant death or a slow death, the end result is still not living. And we have to look at those better in those regards. And shout out to, there's a wonderful book, I don't know if you have it, by Dr. Rita Walker, and she talks about that unapologetically black mental health. And she talks about suicide in our community and how it's not
Mm-hmm.
properly reported. And she proposes to us and looking at depression and anxiety in our culture from a different perspective. Like you said, ours does not look like everyone else's. And how do we
Right,
measure that better? When we don't take our diabetes medicine and we don't change our eating, we're committing suicide. When we don't take our
right.
high blood pressure medicine and we have heart failure, we're committing suicide. When we don't go to regular
Yep,
checkups and do prostate checkups and breast cancer checkup because we know it runs in our family, we're committing suicide. When we
yep.
overeat and don't exercise in those regards, knowing that we have health problems, we're committing suicide. Look at all those things. So when we're broadening that definition, it
Right,
makes complete sense to me, Mark. And a lot of it is rooted and grounded in depression.
right. It
Depression.
is. It is. It's a coping
Yes.
mechanism. You know.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
It is.
And how do we replace those negative behavior patterns with something that's more positive? And can I say here too, and I love what you're saying, but the checking in, how do I create a safe support group that's going to hold me accountable to my well-being without, I feel like, because we have this, well, what goes on in my house, everybody up in my business. Well, I'm in your business because I love you, I care for you, I want to see you succeed,
Right.
and
Right.
maybe not getting in other people's business, as we like to say, is also condoning their negative attitude, which is supporting their slow suicidal death.
Right. It is. It is. It definitely
Hmm.
is. I
Yeah,
tell people it's a process. It is definitely a
it is.
process. And it's not going to be easy.
Right.
Because if it was
So Mark,
easy, we would have been doing this years ago.
exactly. How do you press past difficult days? What is your formula, your secret, your method for that? For those of us who might be struggling with depression, but have hit a roadblock, hit a brick wall. What is your past pressing forward?
That's actually it's a good question, and I think you're probably one of the first people here that ever asked me that question. So I like that.
Wow.
Um, I get up every day. It's the meditation, it's the prayer. That's daily in my life.
Mm,
Now I have
mm.
to affirm who I am because
That's
nobody
right.
may not. So I
That's
have to
right.
affirm what's good with me and what I'm going to conquer for today. But one thing I really got into that I really didn't think I was going to get into, and now I'm telling
Uh-huh.
everybody now, is the guided journal. Um,
Oh my goodness. Don't you
that
love that?
yeah, I have one. I have a book called Today I Affirm, and it's by Alexandria Real. I think that's the name, a black woman.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
uh-huh, uh-huh,
this
uh-huh.
guided journal is so deep. I had to pick up the phone and call somebody, be like, "Yo, she went deep today on one of these questions. I don't even know if I can answer
Wow.
it." And they were like, "Why?" I said,
Wow.
"Because this is really making me think, which is
Yes.
good." But once I
Yes.
kind of sit there and breathe, and I start
Mm-hmm.
writing, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Wow." My whole day changes. So I'm like, you know, we beat our own selves up, and that's
We
part
do.
of our
We
issues
do.
of depression. And I just stopped doing
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Mm.
stopped doing that. But also another factor that works for me is the people who are around me support me. For so many
Gotcha.
years, I was around, I would say, a bad influx of people, But
Wow.
when I started to work on me, my
Mm-hmm.
circle changed and my
Mm-hmm.
circle became supportive. And I always tell people,
Okay.
if you got 10 people that you can call, that's a whole lot going on. You know, I
Yes.
got
Yes.
3 to 4 that I can pick up the phone and have a conversation. And it's a no judgment zone, and
That's right.
it feels great. But it took me a while to get to that point. But once
Okay.
you realize that they love you, they care about you, it is no judgment,
Yes.
and they want you to do
Yes.
better, you do better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I always tell people I had to basically do a purge of my friend circle, if you want to use that word.
Mm. Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Gotcha.
I
Yes.
couldn't be that Mr. Popularity hanging out with people who really could care less if I fell and broke my leg. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
had to purge my circle to people who I knew that were truly going to support me. And when I wasn't doing right, they were going to let me know. I see something's going on with you. We need to have a conversation. And
Yes.
that's
Yes.
really what you need. That's what you need.
Yeah.
I'd say
So that accountability
I don't need
partner.
a circle of I don't need a circle of people who are going to say yes all the time. That's not going to work for me
That's right.
because
That's right.
I'm gonna run you over. Yeah. So
Wow. I
I
love
had to
that.
find that circle, but that guided journal every day. I mean, I look forward to getting up to doing it. I don't even open up the book to see what the next day is going to bring in the journal. I'm just like, just go ahead and surprise me. And I got it. Some days I may be like, whoa, this is going to be a rough one, but I'm going to answer it. And once I
So for
start
those who may
writing
not understand what that guided journal is, can you explain kind of maybe an example of an exercise in that? Because I love guided journals, and I love that a black man is doing guided journaling. What does that look like? Give us an example of that, because so I
well,
believe that a lot of times we
one,
say terms that people don't understand.
well, you know how to, I'm sure people have heard the saying, write your thoughts down is very therapeutic.
Hmm.
A guided
Hmm.
journal is similar to that. One of the first things that this journal asked me to do was write a letter of an apology to myself. That
Wow.
was just that was it right there. I was like, yeah, this is
Right.
the book for me. It took me about maybe 20 minutes to really think about what I wanted to apologize for. Once I did it
Right.
and words start coming out, then the tears start coming out. And I was like,
Yes.
whoa, this is what I needed. And
Hmm.
it then after I did that, then it was like, today I affirm what? And I can remember what it was. Today I affirm I am going to love myself.
Wow. That's huge, especially for we as black men, because we've been taught and programmed almost self-hatred.
Right.
Self-hatred says, I love it. LaDon says, when you change the people around you and you change the people around you. I love that. So not only do
Right.
you change the people around you, but you also change the people that are around you too. It's a
Right.
two-edged sword in that.
Right.
Yes, yes. But to affirm yourself, what an amazing um, opportunity, and because you're changing your internal narrative about yourself,
Yep.
because we've heard all
Yep.
the negative narratives about us. Come on.
Yeah.
We
I
don't
know
even
them
need
all.
to write that down. Yeah, we know.
Right.
We've heard them all.
Like,
We've experienced them all, and we even believe them all.
hmm like it was today. I from the first one was to love myself. The next day it was
Hmm.
to forgive myself. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Yeah.
Wow.
So every day is
Yes.
today I affirm something. Like it started off with write a letter of an apology to yourself, and it was like whoa.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love Mark. I'm writing this down. Letter of
And I did
apology.
it, and then I did it, and then I read it out loud,
Wow.
and that's when I broke down.
Wow.
It was yeah. I put all that weight of trauma from
Yes.
childhood, adolescence, everything else, and kind of held it on inside of me, not knowing how to
Mm-hmm.
release it. Just putting that
Mm-hmm.
thing on paper, it made a world of difference. Friends who have done you
Mm-hmm.
wrong, everything.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
everything. Yeah,
Is it because and you did something that's very important. Not only did you write it down, because writing it down, one, slows our thought process down long enough that we can now
right,
start to organize a few things and we get to hear. But then hearing you read it out loud to yourself is
right,
also extremely freeing in that, because
right,
now you're saying self, you're telling yourself, Mark, I forgive myself for X, Y, and Z. So you're now doing
yep,
this whole thing with I can say this with you because you understand the changing your neuroplasticity. You're changing
right,
the stinking thinking. You're changing the narrative of how your brain processes yourself. Because you're
right,
saying what? I choose to love myself, and because I love myself, I'm enough. I'm
right,
enough. What a
right,
concept. So now I have to, it totally changes all of that negative narrative, all that stinking thinking, all that negative thought, the
yep,
maladaptive thoughts, of saying, listen, I purposely choose today to think, behave, and act a different way.
right, yep.
Bro, that's powerful. That's powerful. What's your go-to coping skill that you love, that kind of, even when you, because we all experience depression, I don't care who you are,
Right.
there's going to be some good days and bad days, but we know how not to go below a certain point now,
We
if
do.
I can say it that way.
We
What's your
do.
go-to when you're starting to feel a little bit down?
Uh, I changed the way I breathe.
Wow.
It's just a breathing tool that I use, and then I start doing self affirmations to myself when I feel myself getting
Yes.
ready to go there. I do. You know,
Yes.
I'm walking around. I'm changed. Sitting there is not going to do for me. I have to get up and walk and breathe a
Okay.
certain way.
Yes. Yes.
Kind of like the inhale, exhale thing that we do in the gym. And then I
Uh-huh.
say,
Uh-huh.
Mark, you're strong, man. Mark,
Yes.
you're a talented man. Mark, God loves
Yes.
you. Mark, you
That's
love
right.
yourself.
Yes.
And I start doing that. So by the time I get to all that, I'm like, well, damn, what just took me to a whole other level? I just forgot about what was going on. And that's when I found out
Right.
that was working for me. I was like, man, if I would have known this years ago, I'm just trying to think where my life would have been. But again, everything
Yeah.
happens the way it's supposed to happen.
That's right. That's right. Man, Mark, this has been absolutely. What do you want to tell those men, those black men, those men of color who might be struggling or who are currently in the situation you were in, past tense? What would you tell them, and what words of encouragement and offers of
Mhm.
suggestion would you give them?
This is a good question. I'm kind of dealing with that now with one of my homeboys that I actually
Okay.
just met.
Okay.
Very resistant in the first 30 minutes, but once that safe space was created, the floodgates started to
Hmm.
open. And it has
Wow.
changed his whole perception of him, his children,
Right.
and his family. Um, he had to find a safe space. And once we talked
Yes.
about what a safe space was, he was able to dive in deep to really what was going on. Because in the
Hmm.
beginning, he was like, bro, there ain't nothing wrong with me. You know,
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
good.
Denial. Hmm.
Denial. 30 minutes
Hmm.
of him and I just talking, and I'm listening. And I'm listening. but you ask certain questions without being judgmental. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
it all started to come out. And once it came out, he started to cry. He said, I don't know
Mm,
how you did this, but I felt a weight lifted off me because he had been holding
mm.
on to it for years. And the more with him, he was a pastor. So that whole perception
Yep.
of running the church, being the man of the church, you know, I was like, dude, I
Come
don't
on.
care what you are. You know, yeah, I said, if
Right.
you want to take
I
it to
don't
the
care.
religion, you know, God created you, He created me, He created us. This conversation for whatever reason He did. Boom. But I
Hmm.
do. You know, it's really for me is being in a safe space, safe environment to where there is a no judgment zone, and I know who to
Love it.
go to, how to
Yes.
go to them, and men, you need to be
Yeah.
the same. It's men, you know, be truthful. Being vulnerable is being masculine. I'm just going to put it out
Hmm.
there.
Hmm. I love
You
it.
know,
It is. It
yeah,
is.
it is. It is. You know, your
Because our
vulnerability
mindset
shows how
says
masculine
the
you really
opposite.
are. Right.
Yes.
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 Yep.
That
You will
you're
find out
willing
your
to.
vulnerability. Yep.
Yeah, I was like you're
Yeah.
willing to
I tell you.
expose your own weaknesses and
Yep.
then work on how to turn that into a strength.
Yep. I tell dudes that
To
all the
turn
time.
around. Hmm.
Yeah. I tell them all the
Hmm.
time. You being vulnerable will strengthen your masculinity. And then once
That's
they really
definitely.
understand it, it's like, wow, I didn't look at it quite like that. I said,
Yeah.
because you're holding on to everything, thinking that we are taught to be one way.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
hold on to it. And then what we do is we teach our young kings the same thing.
And we
And I
teach them
said,
to
and that's
repeat
how
the
it,
same negative behavior.
yep, yep, yeah.
Mark, I totally agree. Man, Mark, I can listen. I got to have you back on soon, because we need to continue this conversation, this narrative about helping our king. Listen, if people wanted to follow you and get a hold of you and follow your organization, how can they do that?
I would say Instagram is probably always the best. It is Kappaman, KAPPAMAN 1911 on IG. I respond to that quickly. That's
Okay,
probably more attached to me versus a Facebook. But I will say I look forward to coming back because when you come back, some new things will actually have happened
I
that
love
I
that.
am proud to say. And I can tell you what part of it is right now. I am
Yes,
working with Prince George's County. We're getting ready to do a commercial with Radio One and Urban One in regards to
come
mental
on,
illness and
that's
COVID around
major.
Hollywood. Yes, I
That's
am the face
major.
and the voice. Yes, yes.
Mark,
We are
congratulations, because we
also
know
planning.
that's
Um,
huge.
and I'll tell people this now. You know, we're in the planning stages. Mental Health Awareness Month is in May, as everybody knows, or if you don't know, it is now.
Yes, yes.
I am working with the Department of Behavioral Health and Volunteers America and NAMI and a few other organizations to create the first Mental Health Wellness Expo in Prince George's County. Also,
Love that. Love
yeah,
that. Man,
and a Black Men's Empowerment Brunch.
I love that. I love that. Black Men's
Yeah,
Empowerment Brunch. That's
yes,
amazing, man. That is amazing. Congratulations. However we can support and help you broadcast that, get the word out. Listen, you always have a platform here on the show, man, and I appreciate you. Thank you for staying up the extra hour and the extra journey for us, man, in what you're doing.
not a
So
problem,
proud
man.
of the great work that you are doing, and I just want to encourage you to keep sharing your story. Keep
I will.
telling other men, and giving us hope in that. Mark, man, thank you so much. Listen, y'all, thank you so much for joining us for this. We have had this amazing discussion with none other than Mark A. Harrison, founder of this amazing organization, Saving Our Kings. And he has been so vulnerable in sharing us his own bouts with depression and what that looks like. Listen, you heard it here. Please share and like and share this story, because this needs to get out. We too many of us are secretly suffering in silence in the shadow of shame, and we don't want you to do that. Now, we never want to end this show without giving you some resources on how you can get some help if you are in need of mental health resources and mental health practical help with that as well. If you're experiencing any type of crisis, you can type crisis to 741-741. Also, you can look at Psychology Today, on Psychology Today, as well as Therapy for Black Men, as well as goodtherapy.com. You can actually look at the profiles of the therapist and make sure that that particular therapist, one, looks like you, understands your cultural makeup and needs, and also can meet your insurance and or cash basis needs. And then also you can reach out to our firm at marcelconsulting.com. We never want you to suffer again in silence and shame, but there is hope. There is help. Also, visit our website at mentalhealthmarty.com. On there, you can shop and find some amazing merchandise to support you along your mental health journey. Mark was sharing with us this journal, and I have a journal on here, a journal of positive affirmations called Stop the Stinking Thinking. We would love for you to reach out and grab that. It makes an amazing Christmas gift, as well as Black Mental Health Matters. We have that in the t-shirt as well as the hoodie, because it's getting cold outside. They make wonderful, wonderful, and amazing Christmas gifts. Please check those out as well. Listen, guys, and we're going to be back soon at the top of the year with new episodes on our podcast that you can download on in and listen to on any your favorite podcast streaming source. If you are an Apple listener, please give us a 5-star rating, leave us a review, and become an I Matter member of Mental Health Matters with Marty by texting I Matter to 855-717-1272. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're going to be making a switch soon to all of YouTube starting in the first quarter of 2022. But again, as I always say, we don't want you to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame. But as always, we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. And always remember to enjoy your life. We'll see you next week. Take care.